What you're about to see is a strictly factual report. We're going to lay out the documented events surrounding a series of deaths and disappearances that have occurred within America's top-tier scientific community. We're sticking only to the public record, what is known, what's been officially stated, and what crucial questions still don't have answers.
It all comes down to one number, 9. Between July of 2023 and February of 2026, 9 different individuals, all of whom were connected to America's most sensitive research and defense institutions, have either died under strange circumstances or simply vanished without a trace.
So let's walk through this timeline. It really is the factual backbone of this whole story. The pattern kicks off in July 2023 with the death of Michael David Hicks. From there, it just unfolds over the next 32 months, ending, for now, with the disappearance of William McCasland in February 2026. To really get a handle on what's going on, we're going to approach this methodically. First, we'll get to know who these individuals were. Then, we'll dig into their documented professional connections. After that, we'll review the official statements from authorities and institutions, clearly outline what remains factually unknown, and then wrap up with a summary of the case as it stands today.
Okay, let's start with the people themselves. It's important to state that every piece of information we're presenting here comes directly from public records, obituaries, and other official sources.
So this table, it really shows both what we know and the significant gaps in the story. You start to see these clusters forming around some key institutions. Let's start with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or JPL. First, you have Michael Hicks, 59 years old, a research scientist. He died on July 30th, 2023, about a year after he'd left JPL. The public record shows no cause of death was ever released, and there's no record of an autopsy. Almost a year to the day later, Werner Maiwald, a 61-year-old principal researcher at JPL, died in Los Angeles. And, just like with his former colleague, no cause of death, no autopsy. Then there's Reza, 60, who was JPL's Director of Materials Processing. She vanished while hiking in the Angeles National Forest on June 22, 2025. Searches were conducted, but her body has never been found. Next, we see a cluster around Los Alamos National Laboratory. Anthony Chavez, who is 79 and a former employee, disappeared on May 4, 2025, just while out on a walk. The search for him is still ongoing. The very next month, Melissa Casias, a 53-year-old administrative assistant at the lab, disappeared from her home. What's really strange here is that investigators found that both of her cell phones, her personal and her work one, had been factory reset. 2 of these cases are confirmed homicides. Nuno Loureiro, the 47-year-old director of MIT's Plasma Science Center, was shot and killed at his home on December 16, 2025. Authorities reported that the suspect in his case later died by suicide. 2 months after that, on February 16, 2026, Grillmair, a 67-year-old Caltech research scientist with strong ties to JPL, was also shot and killed right on the porch of his home. A suspect has been charged with his murder. The rest of the cases involve disappearances with really unusual circumstances. Jacinto, 45, worked at the pharmaceutical company Novartis. He went missing on December 12, 2025. His body was found 3 months later in a lake, but his cause of death has not been made public. And finally, William McCasland. He was a 68-year-old retired Air Force Major General and the former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory. On February 27, 2026, he just walked out of his home, leaving behind his phone and his glasses. There hasn't been a single confirmed sighting of him since. These are the established facts for each individual.
Okay, so that's who they were. Now, let's take a look at the professional connections that have been documented between these individuals. And I have to stress, all the connections we're about to show you are based entirely on public records. But before we dive into those connections, this right here is crucial context. To date, not a single law enforcement agency has come out and officially stated that these 9 cases are linked. It's a really critical point to keep in your mind as we review the overlaps that we do know about.
So even though law enforcement hasn't made an official connection, these documented professional links do exist. The first one is a direct project link. Reza from JPL was a co-inventor of a superalloy called Mondalloy. It's used in rockets and aerospace. Public records confirm that this government-funded project was overseen by the Air Force Research Laboratory right at the time when Major General William McCasland was in command. Then you have the institutional clusters. 4 of the individuals, Hicks, Maiwald, Reza, and Grillmair, all had careers that were deeply connected to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And it's a similar story over at Los Alamos National Lab, where a former employee, Anthony Chavez, and an administrative assistant, Melissa Casias, both disappeared within weeks of each other in 2025. And finally, in the tragic case of Nuno Loureiro's murder, authorities were able to definitively identify the suspect. His name was Claudio Valente, and it turns out he was a former classmate of Loureiro's back in Portugal. He was also later identified as the person behind a separate shooting incident at Brown University.
So what have officials and the institutions themselves said about all this? Well, this next part is a compilation of direct statements from the public record.
U.S. Congressman Tim Burchett, who has been pretty vocal about these cases, didn't mince words. During an interview, he expressed his concern with this very stark phrase, "Something dark is going on."
And looking at it from a national security angle, you have a former FBI assistant director, Chris Swecker. He told the Daily Mail that, given the sensitive work these people were doing, the pattern raises immediate red flags for possible espionage.
In response to a lot of speculation online, William McCasland's wife, Susan Wilkerson, released a very direct public statement. She wanted to refute some specific claims that were trying to link his disappearance to alleged government secrets about Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
The official statement from Caltech about Carl Grillmair is pretty interesting because of its specific wording. While it's true his passing was sudden, the statement completely omits the fact that his death was a homicide, a detail that law enforcement had already confirmed publicly by the time they released it. And finally, we do have this statement from local law enforcement. While no federal agency has linked all 9 cases, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department did confirm to Newsweek that they are looking into a potential connection between 2 specific cases, the disappearances of Monica Reza and William McCasland.
This brings us to the gaps in the official record. What do we factually not know about these cases?
As of today, the public record leaves us with several big, confirmed open questions. First, an official cause of death has never been publicly released for Michael Hicks, Frank Maiwald, or Jason Thomas. That's a huge factual gap. Second, 4 people are still officially missing. For Monica Reza, no body was ever recovered from the National Forest. And for Anthony Chavez, Melissa Casias, and William McCasland, there's just no definitive trace of them. Third, in the murder of Carl Grillmair, even though a suspect was arrested and charged, law enforcement has never established or publicly released a motive for the crime. And, most importantly, as we've noted, no U.S. authority, not federal, state, or local, has officially announced that they are investigating these 9 incidents as a single connected case.
So, to wrap this up, let's just summarize what the documented facts of this case actually establish.
This is what we know for sure, based on the evidence. 9 individuals, a 32-month timeline, a series of documented deaths and disappearances, a set of confirmed professional links, and a collection of public statements from officials and institutions. That's the case so far.
Throughout this explainer, we've presented only the verified evidence surrounding these 9 cases. We haven't speculated. So we're left with a documented timeline, a set of confirmed facts, and a series of pretty significant unanswered questions. The final question, then, is a simple one. Based only on this evidence, what do the facts tell us?